Before we jump into this episode, I want to note that it does involve a conversation about sexual abuse that could be triggering for anybody that is listening, that is experiencing sexual abuse now. So I want to give you the National Sexual Assault Hotline number. If you are experiencing abuse or you know someone who is, please call 1-800-656-4673 to get the resources and the support that you need. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of The Power You Have. I am your host, Pramila Jayapal. It has been amazing to host this podcast and with every episode showcase issues and people that are using their power and can help you to use your power too. Today, we're going to do things a little bit differently. Instead of a one-on-one interview, I am actually welcoming onto the show two amazing, powerful guests, Haley Robson and Jena-Lisa Jones. These brave women are survivors of the horrific abuse committed by Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, and all the other rich and powerful men that were child sexual predators. These women epitomize strength, and I know they're going to have so much to share about finding power in pain and learning to use one's voice in the most difficult of circumstances. And because we have so much to talk about with them, my opening update is going to be short, and I want to start with the fact that government funding is set to expire on September 30th. Now, I am recording this episode on Tuesday, September 16th. So that is 14 days from now. And things could change rapidly. And here's the thing. Republicans are in power in every branch of government. They control the House, they control the Senate, they control the White House. So if the government ends up shutting down, it is Republicans who will take the blame for the pain that the American people will feel. A majority party needs to be able to govern. That means they need to consult with the minority party to get a deal that can garner the votes that are needed. This is truly an unprecedented situation, though, where the Republican majority has made deals for government funding, not just once, but twice, and then in both cases, broken their promises. They have rescinded the money for critical priorities around health and foreign aid unilaterally for the first time in history, priorities that they agreed to fund in order to get the votes that they needed. They've allowed the Trump administration to seize all constitutionally provided Article I powers from Congress to appropriate money and to establish agencies. Instead, the administration has enacted this massive overreach of its presidential powers to destroy agencies, fire workers, to keep our country safe and operating, and destroy essential programs like Social Security and Medicare and Head Start. All of this is terrible for the American people. Literally every day, grocery costs are going up, healthcare premiums are skyrocketing, school supplies cost more, joblessness is up, and hopelessness that workers are ever going to get a fair shot is up. And so right now, we all have to fight back against this destruction. We have to demand that Republicans reverse their incredibly unpopular big bad betrayal bill that cuts health care for more than 17 million Americans. We have to demand that they stop making and then breaking promises when they rescind money that they already agreed to. We have to stop them from militarizing our streets and undermining national security. And as a Democrat, I can tell you something. I am not going to give them my vote for any policy that doesn't restore these cuts and just continues to hurt the American people. It's that simple. They're going to have to earn my vote with a deal that they actually keep instead of breaking their promises to us and to the American people. And if they can't do that, then they can't govern. And they bear the consequences of any Republican shutdown. Now, right now, it sounds like Republicans are thinking about a CR. That's a continuing resolution that basically keeps funding flat and keeps the situation going until the end of November. That seems like a simple enough fix until you go back and you see how many continuing resolutions we've passed. We are still operating at 2024 levels of funding because Republicans have been unable to pass and stick to any deal they make in funding, unable to come up with a budget that will get the votes that they need. And there's no reason to believe that they're operating in good faith, because just a few weeks ago, we talked about their rescissions packages. These are really just cuts to previously agreed upon funding levels. So they're already going back on what they committed to in order to get our votes. So in this process, they have to not only commit to funding the things that Congress has already promised, already appropriated, they've got to restore the cuts that they made to healthcare. So Democrats need to stand up and use the power that we have in this negotiating process. If Republicans want our votes, then like I said, at minimum, they got to restore the funding for Medicaid, the health care that was cut through their big bad betrayal. And let me just say that that is a minimum. There are so many critical programs in this country that are so underfunded, even as we continue to pump billions into the Pentagon, into defense budget, even though that agency has literally never passed an audit. So as this fight continues, just know that I'm going to refuse to give my vote for any legislation that doesn't move you forward again, any legislation that doesn't restore the cuts, that hurts you and your family, your pocketbook, your community. And if they can't muster up a bill that works for the American people, then they are shutting down the government, and they have to own that and step up and fix what is wrong. All right. So I want to pivot now to our guests for today. In just a moment, I'm going to be joined by Haley Robson and Jena-Lisa Jones. As a member of Congress, I have been just so privileged to have the opportunity to meet with and to hear directly from these brave women and others who have stood up to tell their personal stories about their experiences with Jeffrey Epstein and the absolutely horrible things he did. And currently, there is what's called a discharge petition in the House of Representatives. This is a bill that would force a vote on releasing all of the Epstein files. Only 4 Republicans have signed on. It only needs one more signature. All the Democrats have signed on. And it only needs one more signature to have the number that we need so that we can actually vote on this bill to release all of the Epstein files. As the administration continues to downplay the files and do everything in their power to try and distract, I am constantly questioning why, if they have nothing to hide, why would they continue this cover-up? The American people deserve the truth, and these women, these courageous women who are standing up and speaking out, deserve justice and accountability. So it's that simple. And without further ado, it is my great honor to welcome Haley and Jena-Lisa. Haley Robson is a survivor of Jeffrey Epstein's abuse who has transformed her personal trauma into a mission of advocacy and empowerment. Since 2019, she has been a powerful voice for survivors of sexual exploitation and domestic abuse. She's been speaking out publicly to shed light on the realities of trafficking and the long-lasting impact of trauma. Her journey has taken her from silence to strength. Haley now works to help other women navigate their own healing, offering support and understanding and a reminder that no survivor is alone. And she continues to demand justice for Epstein's victims while standing alongside countless others affected by abuse, using her voice to push for accountability, for reform, and for hope. Jena-Lisa Jones is a devoted wife and mom. She's a dedicated secretary and life coach at the Survivors, Inc. With a heart for helping others grow and heal, Jena-Lisa finds purpose in encouraging and walking alongside those who are rebuilding their lives. And in her free time, she enjoys crafting and reading and finding joy in creativity and quiet moments of reflection. Welcome, Haley and Jena-Lisa. Haley and Jena-Lisa, thank you so much for joining me today. And I want to just start by thanking you for everything that you have been speaking out about and ask you if you can start for our listeners by just telling us a little bit about your own story and sharing whatever you want listeners to know about why you're here today.
Just a little background story. I was a high school athlete. I went to Royal Palm Beach High School. I was recruited by a classmate and a 20-year-old male to go to Jeffrey Epstein's house for a back massage. And I basically, in the ride from Royal Palm Beach to Palm Beach, I was groomed and told basically what to say, how to act, lie about my age, never once expressing that I would be fully naked or that he was, a sexual abuser. So I kind of went into the situation believing one thing, and it ended up being completely separate and different than what I was apparently or allegedly supposed to encounter. So my experience was I was sexually abused by him. Um, he wanted to further the abuse, and when I stepped away, he gave me an ultimatum, basically demanding sexual gratification, which he ended up getting, forcing me to do things. And then he gave me another ultimatum of either you're going to come every time I call you, or you're going to bring me a girl to my house. So I made a decision out of survival. I did not want to go through another rape. I was with him for 2 years. I literally moved to Orlando, Florida to get away. And ever since then, I have watched him, I don't know how, escape accountability for the last 20 years. But for the last 7 years that I have been very vocal and very public, I have dedicated my life and my journey to helping other women recover and gain accountability from their own abuse, including domestic violence. And that ultimately led us to the birth of our foundation, the Survivors Inc. And so we are out here surviving and helping other women survive and trying to get these men, women, and children who have been abused, giving them a voice so they can get on their feet and help the next person as well.
Which is really so incredible. And you said you were a high school athlete. How old were you when this all started?
I was 16 years of age.
16 years old.
Mm.
Jena-Lisa, do you want to share your story?
Yeah, so I was raised in a single parent home, drugs, and when I was around, I would say 11, really bad, and that kind of spiraled into things. I was still really good in school and kind of protecting my mom at that time. And at around 14, my mom started ending up going to jail and this and that. And my friends became my family because I didn't have anyone else. And someone that I leaned on very much so introduced me to the popular girl pretty much in school. And went to her house one day thinking we were going to hang out, and she pretty much groomed me, dressed me, prepped me, and took me over to Epstein's. And what was told to me was just going to be a back massage, and I was going to be able to make $200. And at that time, my mom was in jail, and my life, was upside down. And so um, that sounded good. And then at the time they were talking it up at the house before bringing me there, that it was, he's just a silly old guy, this and that, making it seem like it wasn't going to be any big deal. And then once being brought there, being walked up the stairs, and then she left me. She left me there with him by myself, and everything she said that was going to happen wasn't what happened. And the biggest thing I remember is like, after all of that being frozen, right? I don't know where I'm at. I'm in this mansion of a house. I grew up in an apartment. This girl that just brought me here left me up here with this man, and I was frozen. And then when it was all over, getting back into the cab that brought us there and crying to this girl, like crying, and her literally looking at me and saying, "Shut the F up. You just made $200." And my world was just crushed from that day. I was like, this horrific thing that just happened, and she knew what had happened, and she downplayed what when I even reached out for help. So the one person that I knew for a fact that knew what had happened to me didn't even want to listen to me. So from that point, it was like, I'm never going to speak of this, right? Because like if she's not even going to listen to me, how hurt I am, who else is going to listen to me? And so from there, I stayed quiet for a really long time. I didn't even know that he got in trouble in '07, and because they didn't properly investigate, and if they had, they would have realized how many more young girls were involved at that time, because they only hit the tip of the iceberg when they started doing that investigation, and then they gave him this sweetheart deal. And then I'm sitting at 2017 scrolling on Facebook, and here comes his face with Bill Clinton next to it in a
Mm.
clickbait article, and my heart stopped. My heart stopped, and I was like, absolutely, this can't be true. I was like, everything just rushed back to me that I had hidden for so long. And I screenshotted that and reached out to this girl that I had not spoken to in over 20 years to confirm that I wasn't crazy, that that was him. I was like, this is, why didn't you tell me he got in trouble? And she was like, because he helped me. And I was like, once again, I was devastated again. And then from there, I just dedicated everything into fighting for the survivors of these horrific things that he did, and just becoming a mother myself, and just can't
Yeah.
imagine not doing the right thing and supporting for my children, and trying to make a change when I know this is going on, and clearly is way bigger than anybody could have ever imagined what was going on.
I think when I met both of you and so many of the other survivors that were here, we were with the Democratic Women's Caucus. I was just so struck by your, I'm getting emotional now just thinking about it, your incredible courage and bravery. And also the way, and many of you did talk about your kids, your daughters as well. But I was just struck by how you are doing this, of course, for yourselves and to get justice for yourselves. But both of you and so many of the others have turned this into also a fight for all survivors, for all the people that were involved in this network, but also all the people, all the girls and women that have been abused by rich and powerful men across the country, around the world, actually, because there are even survivors of Jeffrey Epstein's that were trafficked in from other countries. And
Yep.
so I guess a question I have, and you've sort of touched on this a little bit, but how do you access that level of strength from a place of tremendous trauma and pain? Because this podcast is called Use the Power You Have. And especially when you have been, um, traumatized in the way that both of you have gone through, it's hard. How did you access that incredible strength to become, to speak out and to do the kind of advocacy that you are doing now?
Well, for me, my journey was so different than the other girls as I stood in front of the Capitol expressing my story. The way that I was portrayed in the very beginning of all this with the press and the things that they were saying, because they did not have all the facts, I was really kind of in a separate category at first, and I was thrown under the bus by the media. I was thrown under the bus by the press. A lot of negative things were said, and for those 17 years, I allowed the public to think whatever they wanted to think. At that point, I just was so broken inside and trying to figure out a way to like find the inner strength to not allow the outside affect me internally was probably one of the hardest things I ever had to do. But I think what really empowered me was, you know, I went and when I first met Brad Edwards and Brittany Henderson, I walked into his office.
Those are your attorneys,
Yes,
correct? Yeah.
yes, they are. And when I walked into Brad's office, he just looked at me and he saw me as a human being and looked at me and he said, "We're going to get justice. You have to go out there and own who you are and change the story, make them listen." And so when he said that to me, and I still don't think he understands that, like, not only did I take what he said and I ran with it because I changed the narrative. And the way I did that was coming out publicly. And when I came out publicly with Virginia Giuffre and Courtney Wild and Filthy Rich, um, I think I just at that point got so tired of everybody pointing to me and telling me who I was.
Mhm.
And at that point, I just said, you know what? I have nothing to lose. I have nothing to gain. I'm going to go out and I'm going to speak my truth. And at this point, the only thing left that needs to be said are the victim stories and
Mm,
stop allowing the world to tell me who I am and find the courage to tell the world who I am.
mm,
And so I really had my attorney's support and guidance through all of that, which was so necessary.
that's so powerful. And Jena-Lisa, you sort of talked about the motivation that you have, but where, with seeing Bill Clinton but where did you find that strength? Same question.
I think it's first stemmed from just pure anger
Mm-hmm.
on all levels of the situation. It was just so much anger and hurt that I think that started ignite me, and from there really just showed me that this fight is so much more than what I thought it was, because I really thought this was, we hear about this all the time, but if it's not in your face, you don't realize how big and how wide it is. And once you have children and you start seeing those children at the same age that you are, and
Mm,
how little and how vulnerable, and at 14, how I thought I knew everything and I didn't know everything and I still don't know everything, really makes you start wondering. You're like, man, you have to be the voice for the voiceless, because that if you're not, who is? And at that, you have to. There was just something in my soul, was just that it wasn't going to sit right if I wasn't just going to fight for myself, right? I can fight for myself all day long, but to fight for others speaks volumes. And
Yeah.
and and I want to go down swinging with the best of them and
I
take down
love that.
everyone.
I love that. And literally you all, I mean, you talked about, and I've read all the files and, about how this was a giant network, right? This was not just one guy. It was a giant network of people who assisted in making this happen. There were the accountants, there were the people who got you into the cabs, there were the people who paid you, there were the whoever. And you've talked about making your own list. I know you said that publicly. You talked about it when you were with us, meeting
Mm.
with us. And I guess I just want you to talk about that network, because there is such a cover up. And when you see the birthday book, that was just released, and you see the names of the people who are in there, when you see, Bill Gates' name in there, and you see him standing with Bill Clinton, and you see a letter from a birthday wish from the current president of the United States, you really realize how much of a cover up by rich and powerful men, mostly, but obviously Ghislaine Maxwell was a big part of this as well. So, talk about that network a little bit so people understand how much was involved in this.
Well, I think it's important that people understand, including the public, that there are thousands of victims of Jeffrey Epstein all over the world. Our abuse was catered specifically to each individual. So, what I went through upstairs privately with Jeffrey Epstein may have been a different experience than what somebody else may have went through. An example, trafficking. So I wasn't trafficked out to anyone specifically. I was sexually abused by Jeffrey Epstein and Jeffrey Epstein alone. However, I know Lisa Phillips and a couple of the other girls that day said that they were actually trafficked and they said that they would
Mhm,
like to make a list. And I know Marjorie Taylor Greene and Thomas Massey said that they would stand on the floor and they would read the
mhm,
names for immunity. Um, I personally don't know any of those names, because again, I was not trafficked. That was not my experience. I was only sexually abused by Jeffrey. However,
Not
I
only sexually abused, you were, I mean,
right.
what a horrific, yeah,
Emotionally, verbally, I mean, I was in psychological warfare. I think in the
yeah.
beginning, when I finally got free, I had Stockholm syndrome a little bit. But to the women that do know who they were trafficked to, and to the women that are ready to come out with their own lists, I 1,000% support that. And I will stand on that floor with Thomas Massey, and I will stand next to Marjorie Taylor Greene and hold her hand as she reads those names. Because at the end of the day, us women need to stand together. And I have spoken about death threats and about some of the things that we have been receiving on the opposite end of that, especially coming out as a Republican. And I'm just going to say this. I am not in fear for my life. I am not scared of any threat. It's not going to stop from what's coming. And
Mhm.
I know that that is a huge ordeal for any of you, whether Republican or Democrat, for you to stand
Yeah.
on that floor and read names. You're just in as much danger as us. And I say that we stand united on that floor and we all stand holding hands and read that damn list if it does come to fruition, because I've had about enough of it. And I am willing to take a stand with anybody who supports us.
That's fabulous. And I will be at the front of that line reading whatever
I
names
know
you
you
want me,
will. I
whatever
know you
names you
will.
want me to read. Jena-Lisa, what about you? I mean, I think the network we're talking about is not only the people that sexually abused, but all the people who facilitated that abuse, right?
Yeah, the like you're like talking about the workers at the homes and the people
Exactly.
that seen going in and out. Um, yeah, I mean everyone should be held to the same standard in the court of law and in their involvement, no matter what it is. I mean, if a lot of states is you see something, you say something, is it's a part of reporting, and that alone, you knew something was going on. I mean, we had authors at the time in '07 that decided that they're going to write books about it, but he gets off scot-free. But it was worth
Right.
enough to write a book about on Palm Beach
Yes.
Island.
Yep.
You know,
Right.
it's the networking was so large and so wide, and the even the smaller people that were involved with helping him made such a big deal because they were the ones that
Could have
helped
stopped it.
cover you know. So I think everybody should be held to the same standard across the board and be investigated. Like I mean, we got our lives probed into.
Yeah.
I mean, we're still getting ran through the mud because you either believe us, you don't believe us, or it's a side thing, or it's a this thing, you know. So even at this time, we're still going through that when we just need to lay it all on the table. The government, like, I mean, come on. How many? I'm going to be 80 years old and we're still not going to have anything, and that's not fair. Like, I mean, this is clearly they have all the information.
We've
They
got all,
have.
yeah. And
They
and
have
the
it all.
lawsuit was against the banks as well, right? I mean, the banks
Oh,
have
yeah.
had the accountants.
Exactly. And they were held accountable for that,
Yeah.
as should anybody else that was involved that knew and partaked or had any part. I mean, it's horrific because those people that are involved are not doing this still. They're still involved with other people because you end up getting into that cycle, right? So let's say for instance a cook or a security guard,
Yeah.
that's what they're used to seeing. They're going to be okay with working for someone else that is crooked
Yeah.
because that's what it is. And
Yeah.
so those things need to be looked into, and then people just falling off like flies that had information that would have talked against him. Like
Yeah.
you know, it's
Well, so how does it make you feel? We have this discharge petition that Thomas Massey and Ro Khanna have put together that calls on for the release of all the Epstein files, not just the ones that the DOJ wants to release, but all of them. And Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert and Nancy Mace are the only other three Republicans besides Thomas Massey that have signed on. Every single Democrat has signed on, and we're soon going to get one more Democrat. And so this is going to get the number of votes that it needs. But how does it make you feel when
my
you
hair.
see these,
This hair is standing up right now.
right, when you see these Republicans stonewalling, and when you hear Donald Trump, the president of the United States, say this is a hoax, this is a Democrat hoax, what do you say to that?
I'm enraged for different reasons. Um,
I'm sorry to have to
no,
go
it's
through
it's
this
the
all
whole
again.
but the whole hoax thing really bothers me. Because it's not just disrespectful to all of us that suffered at the hands of Jeffrey Epstein
Mhm.
and Donald Trump wants to make these comments. I, how how could you continue to say that when I showed up at the Capitol, invited
Mhm.
you, and nobody's coming with pitchforks. Nobody's trying to like come with hostility. We legit just want to say, hey, how can we meet in the middle? How can we all come to a resolution to say, this was a really crappy thing that happened. These are the mistakes that the government made, and this is where you fumbled us. We're willing to put all of that aside, to forgive what has been done, and to move in a positive direction so we can enforce the law and make sure that the next generation never sees another Jeffrey or Ghislaine ever again in the entire world. We have to learn from our mistakes. But when you're not willing to address those mistakes and you're sweeping it under the rug, you're disregarding our trauma, disrespectful to the attorneys that sat through and had to hear horrific stories, just like you did as being a part of the female Democratic caucus. I mean, we've had to talk to everybody. And I probably have told over 2,000 people my story in the last 20 years. And it's just really hard because at some point, I just want my country, my government, my people to look at me and say, I see you. I hear you. I'm going to support you. It's not about Republican and Democrat.
That's
It's
right.
about right and wrong. And I'm seeing a lot of people keep loyalties to what is wrong because of who it is. And at some point, if you want to instill faith in the government, if you want to set an example and a standard for the DOJ, this is the time to do it. We're handing it to you on a platter. Prosecute, 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 investigate, investigate, investigate till we have what we need. And this is definitely not a hoax.
It's just so powerful. Jena-Lisa, I don't know if you wanted to add anything. I know you were lifting up your arm to show me just the hair standing on end.
It's just heartbreaking because there should be no doubt that we have 100% support on both sides. Like this is, I'm pretty sure almost everyone that is sitting in office has children, grandchildren, family members of children, have been in this own predicament, and to not even, if you can't stand up to the bully yourself too for other people, like that's what you that's what you signed up for. That's what you signed up to
That's
do,
right.
is
That's
to protect the people. And when you're clearly going, and I mean, you're showing us by not supporting, you're showing us clearly where that line is drawn in the sand. And that hits hard because you sworn in and said that you were going to protect the people. And whether you're scared, you're worried about your job, Nancy Mace got up there.
yeah.
I mean, they got up there, and they're standing their ground on this because it is wrong. It is wrong what they're doing, and even being attacked by their own people for
Right.
going against them. Like this is craziness. Should be across the board. Let's go. Everybody wants it. The whole world wants
The
answers
whole
too.
country wants it. I mean, it
Let's
doesn't
go.
matter whether you're
Yeah,
Republican and independent or a
exactly.
Democrat. It is across the board. People are like, release the damn files.
Let them all get in trouble.
Trump hasn't reached out to you, right? Haley, I know at the press conference you even said, we want to meet with you, meet with us, talk to us. Have you gotten any outreach?
I mean, obviously, I said that, and I realized afterwards that if anything, he would probably meet with my attorney. But I understand things have gotten a little, maybe on his side, he feels some type of way, and maybe he's not comfortable with meeting us personally. But I've also stated you and our attorney have had a decent relationship over the years. If you don't feel comfortable talking to the women, go call Brad Edwards, go speak to him, let him know where you stand, talk to him. We don't need to talk to you directly, but just having you in communication with somebody from our camp would make us feel a whole lot better about this whole situation. And to add to that, with Trump doubling down on it's a hoax and stuff, you know, he said that it was a dead issue. That was another comment he made. And I came out on CNN and what issue is dead? There is no dead issue. The entire country, including all the supporters in the Democratic Party, want answers. So if the issue is dead, it's only dead to you. It's
That's
not
right.
dead to the world. It's not dead to
That's
the
right.
public.
That's right. And it matters to everybody else. And so I guess both of you do advocacy for survivors. And If there are people listening who might be victims of abuse, are afraid to speak up, maybe they're seeing all these powerful figures stand in the way of transparency and accountability and justice and feeling hopeless. Um, what message do you have for them that can give them the strength that you all have been able to marshal as well? How do you stay strong and continue to speak up?
I mean, when the world tells you no, you keep going. There will be tons of doors that are going to slam in your face. You're going to get told no almost all the time. But if you keep putting in 100% effort and you keep pushing forward, doors will open for you. Um, whatever you believe in, whether it's God, spirituality, you have to have some type of faith in something above yourself. And no matter how hard, times get or how sad or dark your world may get, you have to remember that the only person that's going to advocate for you is you. You
Mhm.
cannot rely on other people to give you what you need, closure, justice, that comes from within. And so, if you are somebody who is suffering at the hands of abuse, whether it's sexual, domestic, whatever the case is, I urge you in a world where you do not feel safe, please, if anything, go seek a therapist who can guide you in a direction to get resources, a therapist who can be a safety blanket for you in times of emergencies, somebody that can talk to you. I know when you go through these situations, a lot of times trust is broken. But the reason I keep saying find a therapist is because it is a doctor-patient privilege. They are not allowed to speak on it. So don't give up. Keep pushing. Believe in yourself. And no matter how many people slam the door in your face or tell you no, you got to keep going until you get a yes.
I would just say life is hard in general. Having to deal with these extra things is extremely rough, and I can there's days where you're gonna feel alone and you're gonna feel weak, and those are the days that you have to dig a little bit deeper. Remember who you are, remember your strength, remember you got this. Your voice matters, whether someone believes you or not, that your story, your experience matters. You have a right to speak up. You have a right to be silent. You have a right to do whatever you feel is necessary in that healing journey. Because mental health, out of all of this, the mental health aspect of the aftermath is so much
Mm.
deeper than people realize of just the physical abuse. I hear time and time again,
Yep.
sometimes I would rather go through the physical abuse than
Mm.
have to deal with the mental, because the mental is something you can't turn off, right? So the physical, at some point it's going to stop for a little bit. And I think that's just a reminder is take care of yourself, take care of, do what you need to do to heal. And once again, like Haley said, therapy is so very important.
Mhm.
It is so very important for your mental health. You need to These people are not always going to get what they deserve for the crimes that they do, and that is horrific. But you have to work on you, and you have to protect yourself, and you have to know that you're worth that, because you are worth that no matter what happens to you. And there's so many people out there that will support you and will have your back. And we're here. It might seem, but we are here, and we want to love on all of you. I mean, the
I love
outpouring
that.
that we have gotten in support, I wish I could give it back a million times fold to all of these people, and just virtually be able to hug them and send them that encouragement, because it's hard. It is hard. It's a hard journey to walk through.
I feel like that's what we're doing. We're sending out that love to everybody who is listening, and saying, we see you, we hear you, we are here for you. There are a lot of people out there who may be listening who just want to help you. They want to help you get justice for yourselves and for everybody. So issue an action call to the people. I'm not talking about other survivors now. I'm just talking about people who are out there who want to use the power they have to make a difference on this issue. What can they do?
Write to every representative for your state, write to every congressman and woman, whether it's Republican or Democrat, write to every politician on why we should release the Epstein files and how important it is to learn from our mistakes. You have to demand transparency. There are power in numbers, please. I can't stress that enough. Also, too, if you have an opportunity to go to Survivors Inc., which is our foundation, and you want to get in volunteer or you want to get involved, please check out our website. We have resources available if anybody's in need or needs help. Please, it's the Survivors Inc.
And what's the website for that, Haley?
Survivorsinc.org.
Great. Survivorsinc.org.
Yeah, and specifically because we have been reached out and to say how they can support us even in different ways. We do not, besides you keeping this going and supporting us on a outside front, we want to use any other platform to be able to help other survivors because our journey is still going, but we want to be able to help other people in their journey as they're going
Mhm.
through it. And we don't want to us to not only be the focus of this because there's so many out there. This is just horrific that ours is so broad and public, but the little what people think of little cases are not little cases, and we want to know that your story matters just as much as our story, no matter who did what to you. So
Yep.
we let us love on everybody else
Oh,
and help them.
you guys are
As,
making me teary
as
because,
we rise up, we want to pull as many people up with us, and I hope we all
Yeah,
make it.
well,
yeah,
it matters. It matters what happens in every single case. It matters in this case because it is an example of how
Yes.
we are going to
yep,
hold or not hold perpetrators of abuse
Accountable.
accountable. And
yep.
so I am just so grateful to you. And at the time that we're recording this, I'm actually getting ready to prep for a hearing where we bring in Kash Patel from the FBI
Go get
into the
them.
Judiciary Committee, and I am going to go get him. I'll tell
Yep.
you what, listening to you has just made me even more completely committed to, well, I already was, but to doing everything I can and to lifting up your voices, the voices of survivors across this country, and demanding that we release the damn files, all of them, right away.
Yes.
Let's
Yes.
get justice. Let's get accountability. And Jena-Lisa Jones, Haley Robson, thank you so much for your incredible courage,
No.
for your inspiration, for everything that you are doing for people across this country, across the world. I am so inspired by you and so
No.
grateful to you.
Thank
Thank
you
you for
Thank
very
you
much.
joining
so
It
me.
was a pleasure.
much.
Thank you.
All right, everybody, that is a wrap. What an incredibly powerful, inspiring episode that was. Make sure that you use the power you have, do the call to action, and involve yourself, engage. I want to again say for anyone that is listening that is the victim of sexual abuse, there are resources there for you. There are support networks for you. Please call the National Sexual Assault Hotline if you need to, 1-800-656-4673. Thank you, everybody. Hope you come back and join us for the next episode of The Power You Have.